Hi and welcome everybody to the Endo Fertility podcast, where you will be empowered to learn how to thrive and conceive with endometriosis. If you want to understand more about your endometriosis, how it can affect your fertility, and how you can personally take action to optimize your health and life, then this is the place for you. I am your host, Lizzie Alexander, founder of the Endo Fertility Specialist. As a doctor of marine ecology turned integrative nutrition health coach and holistic massage therapist, I bring a unique perspective to our discussions. Most importantly, I know what it's like to experience chronic fatigue and endo and struggle for years with primary and secondary infertility. I am now a super busy, thriving military wife, business owner and mother of an adorable little boy. Join me every Wednesday as I dive into topics that will support and guide you, from knowledge about endo and conceiving to nutrition, lifestyle and mindset, pain management to assisted fertility support, functional nutrition and testing, and much more. This podcast is designed to enhance your knowledge so you can explore the whys behind your endo and fertility struggles, whilst moving forwards towards thriving and conceiving. Please note that this is not meant to replace your current medical advice. Together, we will explore a holistic approach to healing that equips you with a toolbox full of diverse strategies to help you manage your endo and enhance your fertility journey. So sit back, relax, and enjoy listening. This episode is brought to you by my Ultimate Endo Fertility Library, available through the Endo Fertility app. This app, available on Apple and Google Play, makes it super easy to access valuable resources and courses right on your phone, even offline, making it perfect for meditations and travel. Inside the free library, you will find essential first steps to support your healing journey, including a quick start ebook, symptom tracker, delicious recipes, workbooks, guided meditations, and other helpful resources. So make sure to check out the show notes for the link to start exploring these resources today. Hello, lovely listeners. Welcome to episode 48. So today I have a great snappy episode for you that I hope will help you with your fertility journey. Now, this season, I wanted to bring a range of episodes from some personal insights and experiences of my own and how you can learn from these mistakes and also learnings and things that have worked for me. I've got some great interviews and then some short episodes with tips and hacks to support you with your journey. So today, I'm going to go through 5 alternative therapies that can support your fertility journey, especially when navigating the challenges of endometriosis. Now, you may have already tried 1 or 2 of these, which you may love or you may not. Now, remember, we are all different, and depending on what our bodies need and our past experiences will determine whether you might get on with them or whether you might hate them. Now, I have used each of these therapies on many occasions, some regularly, some in fits and bursts, and depending on my health and what I felt I needed at that time. So each of these therapies has its own unique benefits, and I'm going to share an actionable tip and also things that I have then learned will help you to try and implement them right away. So I hope you really enjoyed this episode. So number 1 is acupuncture. Now, acupuncture is something that can really help nourish, get movement going, and also is something that can help balance your body. So this first therapy is an ancient Eastern practice that involves inserting really, really thin needles into specific points on the body to stimulate energy flow and improve our overall health. Now, for women with endometriosis, acupuncture can enhance blood flow to the reproductive organs. It can regulate hormones. It can reduce stress. It can balance the nervous system. All factors which are really, really important for fertility. Now, often women with endometriosis have stagnated pelvis, according to the Eastern medicine. So this means that chi, or energy, can stagnate in that pelvic area, and it's otherwise known as becoming blocked. And some of the schools of thought behind this is often due to stress or anxiety. And stagnation leads to slowing of that blood flow, which can then result in a kind of like a toxic buildup. You don't get the oxygen, the nutrients in, toxins don't get carried away, and you've got inflammation as well. So this kind of like the Eastern medicine view, this is a very, very high level view. I am not an acupuncturist. I'm not an Eastern medicine practitioner. So this is just very, very high level for you. You can obviously deep dive more into this. So in terms of benefits, it increases your blood flow to your uterus and ovary, which then helps improve your egg quality and your hormone regulation as well. Now, it can also, it has been thought, and also there is also research behind this, that it can enhance embryo implantation rates and support IVF success by addressing stress and inflammation. Now, I personally absolutely love acupuncture. And I'll come on to that in a minute. I have found good and bad acupuncturists. And the key actionable tip here is it's really important to find an acupuncturist that you like. Okay. It's really good to try and get one who is recommended from someone, because then you know, rather than just look someone up on the internet, or if you do look someone up on the internet, make sure you look at their reviews, check whether they understand fertility, whether they understand endometriosis. And also, when you go and see them, realize that, you know, they may say, you know, it's good to have a program. But if you don't get on with them, that's also okay. You don't get on with everybody. There are also not always amazing practitioners. You might have someone who just you don't get on with. They don't get on with your body. And particularly with acupuncture, if the needles are hurting you without being inserted, not, you know, the occasional one will probably trigger depending on what the point is. And I've had that. And, you know, a particular one is really, really, really painful. That's quite normal. But if you find, and I've had this where, if you find that they're really painful, every single insertion, and your nervous system starts to get triggered and you start to get anxiety around having the needle done, then I would suggest that therapist is probably either not very good, or it can be, this is where there's kind of like two training schools. So if they're more of an Eastern practitioner from China, Korea, that part of the world, their way of doing acupuncture is really quite different from someone who is more Western trained. So they obviously train with Eastern practice, but someone who is more Western trained is a lot softer in their insertion. And I've had this discussion with people and experienced it myself, where I definitely think there's less softness, as it were, around more Eastern practitioners. They are, you know, they're just not so sensitive. It's kind of like, this is healing, get on with it kind of thing. Whereas people who are trained more in the West are definitely can be a lot more gentle. And I've had practitioners who are so gentle, you can barely tell that the needles are going in there, apart from when, like I said, they might hit a point which is really sensitive, you've got blockages, all the rest of it. And so I think it is really important that you get on with your therapist and just and don't feel guilty, because I've had that where I found a practitioner and we just didn't get on. I didn't like his setting. I didn't like the way he inserted the needles. I spent the whole time completely wired. I didn't find it relaxing. And therefore, I think the treatment just isn't going to be working the same as if you thrive under the treatment. If you enjoy it, you go there and you're like, this is just totally relaxing. It's doing the work. And so I think that's really important. And so, yes, I did. I bailed. And after a few sessions, it was like, I don't think this is working. And I'm a people pleaser, and I would do something to suit someone else. And I have done this. And I was like, no, actually, I can't do this. I'm paying for this. This is ridiculous. You may well need regular treatments, because it's really important to understand that just having one session is not going to help you. You do need to kind of, like with acupuncture, buy in and realize that you are actually going to really probably needs a regular treatment, especially with endometriosis, to help reduce your inflammation, to improve blood flow, egg quality. And it is best to try and start this at least 3 months before trying to conceive, because it takes you 3 to 4 months to work on egg quality. And with endometriosis, you want to work on the egg quality, because inflammation can affect that egg quality. And so it is good from a budgeting point of view, from in your head point of view, to realize that you need to buy in there for probably, whether it might initially be weekly and then that might change to fortnightly, but you need to kind of like commit to that. It's not this instantaneous fix. Now, it's not for everybody. Like I said, I've had those experiences, but equally, oh my goodness me, I found this the most amazing acupuncturist while I was in Greece having IVF. Anastasia was absolutely, she just blew me away. Not only she was an acupuncturist, she did Mayan abdominal massage, she did sound bowls, she did Reiki. And so you'd go and have this kind of like acupuncture session. She would then do reflexology on your feet, do some, so because most acupuncturists will put the needles in and then leave you, whereas she uses that time to do all these other healings. And I had that when I was doing IVF before an embryo transfer, then afterwards. And it was just, I was in heaven. I used to love it. And so again, it was just such a spa therapeutic experience. So I just want you to understand that they can be, different from one person to another. So give it a go if you haven't already given it a go. You may have already given it a go and not had a good experience. So definitely try someone else. Don't think that everyone is like that. So yeah, but I would definitely say that acupuncture is an amazing alternative healing tool for in your toolbox to help support you. And there is lots of research evidence as well that there are huge benefits of both fertility and endometriosis. So number 2, colonic irrigation. So colonic irrigation is a really great one for supporting to cleanse your body. Now, this is one that a lot of people are kind of like, no, can't, I can't do this. I have to say, through my journey, I have just talking about bowel movements, talking about poop, colonic irrigation, it is all just it's become normal for me. Now it involves flushing the colon with water to remove waste and toxins. Now this therapy is thought to improve gut health. I would say that I found it has really helped support my journey. And if you support gut health, then you also support your overall wellness, your immune system, your reproductive health. Everything is really, really connected. And it's particularly good if you suffer from constipation or if you have fecal residues as well. For example, fecal residues, what I mean by this is these are poo particles, which basically are getting stuck amongst the villi and they get stuck there, kind of like rotting away. Your villi aren't able to do their job and you end up having lots of toxins in there. If you've got lots of red meat in the past, if you've got poor digestion and poor hydration. So it can be really, really, really helpful as part of your healing journey. And you will have heard me say, if you've been following me for a while, you will have heard me say the importance of the gut. If you experience symptoms of constipation, of diarrhea, of bloating, and these are all very, very typical symptoms for women with endometriosis, then colonic irrigation can be a really, really, really helpful part of your journey. Or it might be that you've tried coming off gluten and dairy and you've tried lots of nutritional elements, but you're still finding you're still bloating, you're still constipated. This is where colonic irrigation can be super helpful on your colon, but also on your liver. And I'll come on to that in a minute. So the benefits, it can really help alleviate bloating and discomfort associated with endometriosis. It promotes better nutrient absorption. So like I said, you kind of clean up the colon, you take out all the sort of like any stuck particles. So it means there's much more available surface area for that nutrient absorption and for your gut bacteria as well. If you take probiotics at the same time as this, it's very, very supportive, which then supports your overall health. Now, like I said, I've tried colonic irrigation many times. I first tried it about 20 years ago as part of my chronic fatigue support journey. And I still remember to this day how I literally floated, like I floated out of the clinic like I was on cloud 9. I felt so light, full of energy. And sadly, back then I didn't understand kind of like about good food. Well, I did understand about good food, but I have no idea. I think I went and had a McDonald's on the way back, which is ridiculous. And I cannot believe that I would do such a thing because you've gone and done this good thing to your body and then just gone and put crap in your body as well. So I wouldn't advise that. So I most recently went to a great practitioner in Darlington. And if you're in the area, then I'll pop the contacts in the show notes. So since being in Oman, I haven't been able to find anyone here that does colonics. And so I've now, in the absence of that, moved on to enemas. And I am totally, I mean, seriously, totally in love with doing this. This is where you do it yourself at home. It's obviously not to the same depth as a treatment with a colonic hydrotherapist, but I found this to be seriously amazing and very supportive. So, you know, once upon a time, I would have found it a horrendous idea. You might be in that place. It might need to think about this, have a little sink in. But, you know, I've also had a child, I suppose, and therefore I'm used to seeing poo and wiping and buns, and it's just a fact of life, and I've kind of got used to it. And actually, doing an enema, it really isn't as hard as you actually think. It's really quite clean. It's easy. And I've kind of got into these coffee enemas, because the other thing is, when you can do water enema, you can do coffee enema, you can then support it with like a probiotic. Like you can, I can't think what the word is, but you can then do a bulb of probiotic liquid, which you then hold in and have the probiotic stay there overnight, basically. But a coffee enema is amazing because it actually stimulates the production of glutathione, which is really important for phase 1 detoxification. So it stimulates 800 times the normal amount of glutathione, which is absolutely mind-boggling. And I have done these coffee enemas when I've had bloating, and then I've done a coffee enema, and literally like 20 minutes later, the bloating is gone, like that, literally gone. And it is amazing. And I really need to do kind of like that pre and post video and show you a picture of what it's like. And it is just, I fall in love with it. I go around telling everybody coffee enema is the way forward. It really supports the liver, reduces your inflammation, and your liver and your gut is really, really important as part of your kind of like fertility and endometriosis, you know, healing journey, basically. I've also noticed, interestingly, I've really got a scalloped tongue. And the scalloped tongue indicates that you are low in B12. I know that I've got various genetic SNPs in terms of B12 and my methylation. And so therefore I do have to work really hard at getting that. What's interesting is when I've done my coffee enemas, literally overnight, the degree of scallopedness subsides massively just from doing one coffee enema. So, I mean, the one that I bought kind of like the equipment from one place, but I've actually then since found Happy Bum Co, and I bought quite a few of their coffee beans and various other support elements from them over in the summer. I will share the details in the show notes as well. So I mean, I do love their stuff, and just, yeah, I could go on about it for hours. Anyway, there has been a little bit of research, not a huge amount around it. So I was having a look at this. So there has been a really small study in Japan in 2009, which found for those with colon disease after they had colon hydrotherapy, that their immune system was boosted and that their colon was improved. So this is, you know, what you need to remember as well, is that studies where there isn't a benefit from a drug or something like this, often these studies don't get done. So realize that it's not, even if the research isn't necessarily there, the research could be coming. So another recent small pilot study was in 2016, and this involved 18 patients with IBS. And they found significant improvements in abdominal pain, bowel movement frequency for those who were constipated, and also then stool consistency for those who had diarrhea. Now, the results suggested that colonic irrigation using a tool, I think it was called the Ashong colonic irrigation apparatus, was a really safe option to help quality of life for those with IBS. Now, more research is obviously needed for long-term effects and to look into placebo impacts as well. So, like I've said, research is expensive, and unless there's this product or a drug or something like this, then it's often difficult to get the funding to do the research in the first place. Now, for an actionable tip, if you decide to try colonic irrigation, seek out a certified practitioner. That's really important, who follows strict hygiene protocols, because if they don't, this can actually cause a problem. Now, the key to finding a registered practitioner, you can have a look, for example, on the Association of Registered Colonic Hydrotherapists. You can follow their guidance on frequency when you meet them. And I would definitely suggest that if they don't, that you want to be taking probiotics, and also definitely making sure that you're avoiding gluten and dairy kind of like around this period, so that you're really supporting yourself. And then the other thing is making sure that you're taking rehydration salts, because when you do an enema, you do kind of like drop those. So you want to make sure you're having those rehydration salts to support the treatment. Now, be aware that according to some people say that frequent colonic irrigation can disrupt the gut flora if it's overdone. Others say not. So I think schools of thought are out there. It's difficult. But I suppose mine would be, with endometriosis, it's likely that your gut health is going to be poor anyway. So doing something that's going to be more beneficial, and then adding it alongside a supporting nutritional sort of guidance, making sure that you're getting fermented foods, anti-inflammatory foods, supporting with probiotics, is going to do your gut health a lot of good. Gut health assessments, that's something you can do as well. So I also do gut microbiome testing as part of the work that I do with my one-to-one clients. And so if you are concerned, you can do this. And also some colonic hydrotherapists also do this. The lady that I saw up in Darlington, she offers this. She does a lot of, looks into the gut as well. So that may be one way you can see if there's anything that's like, that you need to then take some antibiotics. You might have something more severe that's going on that needs support as part of this kind of like gut healing protocol. So the gut is a huge part of your healing process when it comes to endometriosis, and has direct impacts on your fertility also. So if you are suffering from constipation, from, like I said, from bloating, from diarrhea, or switching between, constipation is really important. If you're suffering from constipation regularly, this is going to have a big knock-on impact, because you can end up recirculating estrogen around your body and then fueling your endometriosis. But if you've got any of these symptoms, then it would be something that I would look into doing some gut healing work, and colonic hydrotherapy or enemas can be a good part of that. Now, something to note, if you've got any what's called contraindications, so anything that basically means it could mean that you can't do colon hydrotherapy. So if you've got an abdominal hernia, autonomic dysreflexia, cancer, colitis, there's various different things. If you've got active inflammatory bowel disease, a good practitioner will ask you and go through a questionnaire asking you these things. And also pregnancy is one of those ones as well. Make sure that they do this, because then you know that they know what they're doing, because there are these contraindications. The other one is laparoscopy. So if you've had a laparoscopy within 6 weeks, you shouldn't do colon hydrotherapy. And again, it depends on what you've done in that laparoscopy. If you've had some bowel resection, then it would be longer that you need to leave that by. Number 3, we've got Mayan abdominal wound massage. And this is another lovely, nourishing, nurturing, moving type of therapy. So I love this one. It's a massage technique that focuses on aligning the uterus and improving flow into that pelvic area. And it's a practice that is massively common in traditional communities and has been for hundreds and hundreds of years, maybe even thousands, for example, in South America. Now, you may have heard of Mayan abdominal wound massage already. There are now many practitioners that have been trained in this. And there was a lady who basically brought this from South America and has then helped train many practitioners over the years. And it is a really incredible therapy. Now, as a massage therapist myself, I really, really love it. I have not yet trained in it. I tried to, and then COVID happened. But I do know the basics in terms of how to do self-abdominal massage. So you don't need to be trained to do that, but you do in terms of kind of like moving because Mayan abdominal practitioners, they're able to even like kind of manipulate the uterus. Also, they do massage over the coccyx, which I'll come on to, so on the back. Now, I've received this from a few practitioners over time, and I've actually got a great episode that's coming up, a great interview episode with a Mayan abdominal massage therapist in a few episodes' time. And we'll be talking through her. So make sure to follow, subscribe this episode, or sign up to the newsletter. And I'll put the link below so that you don't miss this interview. So abdominal massage is believed to help relieve pain associated with endometriosis. And also, really importantly, promoting fertility, because we want to make sure your uterus is in the right position. With endometriosis, with the lesions, it can end up pulling the uterus out into the wrong position. And this can therefore cause a problem as well. So they are able to tell how your uterus is sitting, whether it's tilted, whether it's like wonky, and it's amazing what they can tell from this. Now, I truly believe this is really helpful. It can help increase blood flow into the area, bringing these essential oxygen and nutrients to the ovaries. And then also for the uterus, so that it can improve your chances of implantation, and then as well as like helping remove the toxins, making sure that there's no kind of like buildup of lymphatic toxic material in your pelvic area. Now, the technique involves both massaging your abdomen, but really importantly your sacrum. So that's kind of like the bottom of your spine. Now, the sacrum is a really, really, really key area. It's actually more important than massaging your abdomen, which you can do. And like, it was interesting when I went and saw the lady I'm actually interviewing. I've broken my coccyx on several occasions through snowboarding, and also bruised them. And so when I had my first treatment, I didn't tell her this, but she could tell, and the muscles were so tight in that area. And then she trained my husband how to work on my coccyx to try and loosen that off. And the other thing that's quite interesting is that your coccyx, actually right at the end of your tailbone, they actually fuse together once you go into your 40s, which can make labor a little bit more difficult, because it just means that opening up your pelvis during labor becomes a little bit more difficult. It doesn't mean that you can't give birth, but it just means it makes it a little bit more difficult than when you're younger. So it's really important to release that kind of like the muscle and the fascia around that area, making sure there's no trauma held in that area as well, just to make sure that your uterus is aligned and there's no restriction. Now, I found this practice so therapeutic. I was prepared to drive on wiggly lanes across the Yorkshire Dales for an hour to go and have this treatment. I absolutely loved it when I was living in Yorkshire, and I felt it really release some emotions as well, because you store emotions in your abdomen. There were times that I broke down as well during this. So in terms of an actionable tip, it's really, really important to find a trained practitioner who specializes in Mayan abdominal massage. Now, in the UK, you can try finding someone, for example, via the Abdominal Therapy Collective or Arvigo Therapy. So those are two where you can have a look. Now, if you can't afford to do this as a treatment, because again, you probably need to go for more than one session, then what you could do is you could just go for one session and ask them to train you at home abdominal massage. Or if you can't even afford to do that, or you can't find anyone that's local enough to you, or you live in a remote area that doesn't have this available to you, then I actually have a short course that you can purchase called Love Your Pelvis. And this includes both the theory and the practical. So there's videos behind this. And then there's lots of bonus information around kind of like teaching you some nourishing foods for your pelvis, ways that you can cleanse your vagina using castor oil and steaming. Again, really ancient practices that are really lovely and healing. And then finally, there are some affirmations and visualizations around womb healing as well there. So if you're interested, I'll pop that in the show notes and you can go and get that there. So I hope that this has helped gain insight into 3 key alternative therapies that I've personally loved during my fertility journey, and I know have helped my clients and thousands of women trying to conceive with endometriosis. Now, there are also many other therapies, some that you do at home, some you do with practitioners, that I could talk about, and I'll probably cover them at some other point. For example, craniosacral treatment, red light therapy, herbal remedies, meditation, emotional freedom techniques. There are so many. Now, I wanted to cover these, but I'll do them in future episodes. Also, These are techniques that I cover in detail with my clients, and then also will be in the Endo Fertility Mastery membership. So if you want to know more or work with me, get in contact, and you can email me on lizzie@endofertilityspecialist.com. So these are obviously alternative therapies that offer holistic approaches, and they can complement your journey. I hope that these tips will empower you, and I really hope you join me for my interview next week with the amazing Alison Hall, who is a nutritionist who specializes in fertility and miscarriages. So bye for now, you lovely listeners. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode and found some useful tips and actions you can take away and put into practice. If you loved listening, be sure to subscribe so you'd never miss an episode. It would be amazing if you could take a minute to leave an Apple or Spotify review. Your feedback helps us reach more women who might benefit and keeps the podcast going strong, and it only takes a second. If you know someone who would love to listen to this episode, please share it with them. So this season, I'm introducing the podcast goodie bag, where you will get access to a range of fantastic freebies contributed from our guests. To do this, you just have to sign up to the Endo Fertility mailing list, which is where you'll be the first to hear my inner thoughts, tried experiences, and the latest products and service launches. The link to the podcast goodie bag sign up page is in the show notes below. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you next week for another episode.